of battling going on, yeah. And well, it was up at about 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. It was up. And we were warm. I was warm. Yeah, yeah, I was in this reality warm. And he ran though. And, he tells me, hey, there's no game with us. Tells me, well, there's no game with us, family. We really on our mission, family. We really on our journey, boy. We're not playing with none of them, period. That's just what it is, family. We tapped in like that, period. Yeah, facts, family. We getting it in. God is not, you feel me? God is not, hey, you feel me? God is. I'm trying to tell you, up, battling. I love it, though. I love the spiritual war, though. That's what I'm here to do. I love it. How y'all vibing, souls? I see you beautiful souls. Look at everybody. Gratitude for the gifts, y'all. Gratitude for the gifts. Y'all ready to turn this thing up? Y'all ready to turn this thing up? Well, ditto. Like Rory. Peace, family. I see you up in here. We finna get it in, y'all. We finna get it in. Let's light it up. We ready, huh? We ready. Let's get this message, y'all. Let's get this message, y'all. You know what I'm saying? On this very powerful day, the 17th of February, man. Bringing in the horse, huh? You're the horse right here. Yeah. Eh? Pressure. You're the chosen. Let's go. It's all the way up, chosen. Hey, this one right here called Your Ex Broke. Your ex broke a spiritual law. Yeah. Yeah, your ex. You know when you was with? Yeah. They broke a spiritual law though. But they didn't know. Broke a spiritual law, fam. Oh, we finna talk about it. Yeah, we finna talk about it. They broke a spiritual war. A spiritual law. Let's get into it.
The worst mistake a fool can make is thinking the fire they set won't eventually burn their own house down. Yeah, read that again. Because your ex, they didn't just walk away. They set the match. They stood there and watched it burn. And now they're shocked the smoke followed them home. See, here's what they don't want to admit out loud. They helped commit a spiritual crime against someone the universe had marked. You weren't just another person. You were a walking miracle, wrapped in human skin. But they treated you like an option, then aligned with gossipers, traitors, and low vibrational thieves, thinking the universe wouldn't notice. Let me say it louder for the ones in the back. You don't get to mishandle someone who came into your life as a blessing and walk away with blessings. That's not how the universe works. That's not how energy works. And now they're waking up to the bill. Before we get deeper, do your part to keep this fire going. Don't forget to pay this message back by simply pressing the like and subscribe button. Help spread this message to more souls, because it's not just content. It's a warning. And it's our duty to spread the light before more damage is done. Now, let's talk facts. Your ex didn't just hurt you. They disrespected your spirit. They saw the glow. They felt the pull. But they still gambled with your heart like it was a cheap token at some spiritual casino. And now, the universe is collecting what it's owed. See, a breakup is one thing. People fall out of love every day. But what they did, that was spiritual warfare in disguise. They didn't just move on. They joined forces with your enemies, mocked your pain, laughed at your healing, tried to replace your light with chaos. And the wildest part, they thought karma was asleep. But karma doesn't forget. It learns your name. It takes notes. And it waits. Oh, how it waits. Now they're restless, can't sleep, can't focus. Every wind turns sour. Every room feels cold. Why? Because they're haunted by the absence of your presence. chosen one, this is why your energy is not ordinary. You weren't just a partner, you were a divine lifeline, but they cut the cord, and now they're choking on silence. Here's the part they'll never admit. They were never ready for someone like you. You showed up too real, too pure, too damn powerful, and that scared them. So instead of rising up to meet your level, they tried to pull you down to theirs. But when they failed, they blamed you and ran to the crowd, let others throw dirt on your name while they smiled, thinking they had won. But spiritual crimes don't come.
Let it go with that.
The shift was immediate.
Hold on, y'all. Let me get it right.
Grade wrapped in human skin. But instead of recognizing that, they treated you like a pit stop on their way to destruction. And now they're looking around, wondering why nothing's working, why peace won't stay, why every door they touch feels cursed. It's because they broke a covenant, not just a connection. You see, when you enter the life of a chosen one, you don't just date them, you enter a spiritual agreement. An agreement that says, I'm walking with a soul that's here on assignment. And with that agreement comes covering, elevation, protection, and yes, consequences if violated. Most people don't know this, but the reason your ex started winning in life the moment you showed up was because you carried spiritual authority. You had favor on your life. You were walking blessings into their home, into their business, into their mind. That peace they had, that was your energy. That structure in their chaos, that was your discipline. Those sudden opportunities, your light attracted that. But they didn't get it. They thought you were just too emotional, too intense, too serious. They thought they could play with you like you were one of those lost souls they were used to dealing with. They thought they could ghost you, lie to you, manipulate you, and align with people who secretly wanted your fall, and it wouldn't cost them anything. Now look at them, confused, exhausted, paranoid, spiritually bankrupt, because when you betray someone with universal backing, you don't just lose the relationship, you lose the covering that came with it. You lose the silent blessings, the quiet protection, the unseen hand that was keeping your enemies out and your path clear. And now they're exposed. And maybe they're out there right now, putting on a smile for social media, trying to prove they leveled up. But behind that screen is a haunted mind. Because deep down, they know they lost something they'll never replace. You don't get a second version of a chosen one. There's no substitute. And the universe doesn't hand out souls like yours on every corner. Let's break this even further.
Where, baby?
People might ask, well, wasn't it just a breakup? Aren't people allowed to leave if it's not working? Of course. We're not here to trap anyone. But let's get this straight. There's a difference between leaving with respect and committing a spiritual betrayal. There's a difference between choosing peace and choosing violence against someone's soul. Your ex didn't just fall out of love. They fell into darkness, and instead of reaching for your hand, they reached for gossip, temptation, and cowardice. They aligned with your spiritual enemies and helped tear you down. Then wondered why their life started falling apart.
How y'all vibing though, beautiful souls? Gratitude for allowing me into your energy. Let me answer your question real quick. It's no game. It's no game. I'm gonna play it again, but hold up. That's what you talking about? Is that what you talking about right there? Yeah, I keep that. Motivate. Tap in. Get your papers too. Tap in, get your papers and everything. Holler at me. Get you a ring done. But yeah, I got motivated. take a type, all that good stuff too as well. Let me switch that back around. Let's get back to it. Let's get back to it. Yeah, I got all the stones, all type of stones. I got a lot of crystals, man. A whole bunch of crystals.
It's because they didn't just walk away from a partner. They walked away from their own elevation.
Yes.
The most dangerous mistake they made wasn't in what they said. It was in what they touched. They touched something holy, mishandled it, mocked it, disrespected it. And now the same hands they used to fumble you with can't seem to hold on to anything good. And let's be real, some of them knew exactly who you were. They knew you were different. They just thought your grace meant you'd never walk away. They thought you'd always forgive, always come back, always lower your light to make them feel taller. But the moment you cut the cord, the silence became spiritual warfare. Because you were never just some girl or some guy they dated. You were a divine mirror, and once you left, they were forced to sit with their own reflection. And it's ugly. Now they're haunted by the version of themselves you tried to help them become. They're grieving potential, not love. Potential. And that's the worst kind of grief, because it's not just about missing you, it's about knowing they destroyed their own elevation out of ego and ignorance. You ever wonder why their new connections don't last? Why their peace feels fake? Why they look happy, but you can still feel the cracks through the screen? That's not intuition. That's spiritual truth. They're being reminded every day of what they lost. The universe isn't letting them forget. And chosen one, don't you dare feel bad. Don't let the enemy convince you that your standards were too high or your heart was too much. You weren't too much. You were exactly what they prayed for until they got it and didn't know what to do with it.
Chosen one. Well, you did that. Gratitude for allowing me into your energy, divine. This right here is a message, just letting you know what's going on outside of the spiritual gate that you off in, family, the one that surrounds you. Remember, spirit tells on everyone. Ain't nobody safe when it comes to this universe, the law of order, it's going to come back to you. Energy comes back to the rightful owner. Plus, chosen. You being chosen is, hey, they can't do nothing in the secret no more. Period. They can't do nothing in the secret no more. It comes back to us. And we find out exactly who, when, and where. On my soul, let's rise.
Don't worry. The universe saw everything. Every betrayal, every lie, every time they sided with the enemy, every time they laughed at your pain, every moment they mocked your worth behind closed doors. And now, the same force that sent you into their life is removing you for their protection and your rise. Here's the part they never saw coming. They thought the pain would destroy you, but instead, it woke you up. It made you colder, smarter, stronger. They thought breaking you would break your destiny. Instead, it triggered your transformation. They don't even realize it yet, but they weren't just part of your story. They were the plot twist that elevated you to your next level. They were the betrayal that turned into your breakthrough. So let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them scroll in silence, checking your page with regret in their chest and a lump in their throat. Because they didn't just lose a lover. They lost a once-in-a-lifetime divine connection that was sent to shift their entire life. And now they're stuck replaying the moment they fumbled the rarest soul they'll ever know. You were the blessing, and they treated you like a burden. Now the burden is theirs forever. Number 2, they didn't just fall out of love. They walked out on their own blessing. The most tragic betrayal isn't when they leave you. It's when they abandon their own elevation and don't realize it until everything they touch starts falling apart. Let's get one thing straight. They didn't just leave a relationship. They walked out of alignment. They stepped out of flow, out of protection, out of purpose. And the moment they did, the shift was immediate. Suddenly, the favor that followed them started to dry up. The energy that used to make life easier vanished. Doors that once opened without effort slammed shut. Connections they thought were solid turned cold. And the peace they bragged about? Gone. Like a dream you wake up from and can't get back to sleep.
Things that come with when you go up against the chosen. Or you just revoked your license. License gone.
See, when you're connected to a chosen one, you're not just dating a person. You're walking with spiritual authority. You're aligning with purpose, protection, elevation. But when you betray that, when you lie, cheat, gossip, or abandon someone marked by the universe, you don't just fall out of love. You fall out of divine alignment. That's why their life feels off now. That's why no amount of fun, no new partner, no party, no distraction is enough to fill the void. They didn't just lose you, they lost the favor that followed your presence. And now they're restless. You can feel it. You can sense the shift. They're watching from afar, pretending they're fine. But every smile is cracked, every laugh a little too forced. And the crazy part? They talk about you more now than when they had you. Why? Because regret is loud when peace is gone. They can't stop thinking about you, not because they miss the good times, but because deep down, they know they fumbled the assignment. It's funny, isn't it? How they thought they were gaining freedom, only to end up imprisoned by their own choices. How they thought they were upgrading, only to find themselves surrounded by people who don't nourish their soul, don't challenge their growth, and definitely don't carry the kind of light you did. You weren't just love, you were medicine, and they traded that for ego, temptation, and shallow validation. Now everything around them feels empty. Even the things they once chased, money, attention, status, don't hit the same, because those things only shine in the presence of real peace. And peace, that left when you did. You ever wonder why they look like they're glowing outside but drained inside? That's what happens when you fake a smile through spiritual drought. Because this isn't just about heartbreak. This is about spiritual consequence. You don't betray someone sent to elevate you and expect your life to stay elevated. You were their covering, their favor, their divine mirror. You made them reflect. You held them accountable. You pushed them toward growth, healing, vision. And instead of rising with you, they ran from the light. They mocked it. They resented it. Because it exposed the parts of themselves they weren't ready to face. So now they're haunted, not by ghosts, but by memories, by missed potential, by the sound of your voice in moments of silence. They may not show it, but they feel it. The weight of what they lost, the spiritual cost of their betrayal. And while they try to rebuild their life, there's this undeniable absence they can't replace. And chosen one, don't you dare feel bad. Don't let their silence confuse you. Their pride may never let them admit it, but their spirit knows. They may smile in pictures, laugh with their new peace, but the energy doesn't lie. You left a mark. You were the alignment they didn't even know they needed until they ruined it. And that's the part that hurts them the most. They could have built with you, healed with you, won with you, but they chose betrayal over blessing. And the universe doesn't reward that. No matter how much they fake it, they're battling spiritual friction. They can feel it every time they try to move forward, but feel chained to the past. That's not nostalgia. That's the cost of stepping out of alignment with someone chosen. So let them watch. Let them scroll. Let them keep your name in their mouth while pretending they've moved on. Because behind all that noise is a soul that knows they lost something holy, something rare, something they'll never touch again. They didn't just fall out of love. They walked away from their own alignment, and now they're paying the price. Number 3, they had the keys to the kingdom and burned the blueprint. The greatest tragedy isn't being betrayed. It's giving someone front row seats to your soul, and they show up drunk, reckless, and blind. Let's be clear, this wasn't someone who didn't know better. This was someone who had full access. They saw your vulnerability. They witnessed your loyalty in real time. They heard your truth when it was still trembling in your throat. You handed them the map to your soul, and instead of honoring it, they set it on fire. Not because they didn't recognize your value, but because their ego screamed louder than their wisdom. You didn't hide your heart. You gave it in raw, sacred form. They didn't have to guess who you were. You showed them. You made it easy to love you. And still, they fumbled. Still, they chose recklessness over reverence. And now, they can't unsee you. They can't unfeel you. You've become a ghost with unfinished business, living rent-free in the corners of their mind. Every time they meet someone new, it's your shadow they compare them to. Every time they try to replace you, it's your energy they chase and never find again. Because you weren't just a partner, you were a spiritual experience. You weren't the lesson, they were the test. And they failed. Loudly, publicly, spiritually. Let's break that down. People always assume the chosen one is the one learning. But what if you were the evidence, the mirror, the one sent to expose whether someone could handle what they prayed for? That's what makes it worse. You were the answered prayer. But they weren't ready. And instead of admitting their fear, their smallness, their immaturity, they tried to destroy the very thing sent to elevate them. They were spiritually reckless, like a person given the crown jewels and using them as paperweights. They thought access meant ownership. They thought your kindness meant you'd never leave. They thought your presence was permanent. But chosen ones don't beg to be seen. We walk when we're mishandled and let the silence do the talking. History is full of people who were mishandled by those they trusted the most. Joseph's own brothers threw him in a pit, blind to the greatness they were discarding. Frida Kahlo gave her heart to a man who couldn't handle her pain, her passion, her truth. Malcolm X was betrayed by people inside his own movement. Over and over, the story is the same. Chosen ones are often betrayed by the very people who had the clearest view of their power. And every time the pattern repeats: betrayal, separation, elevation, because the universe never forgets. Hurting a chosen one isn't just a bad breakup, it's a cosmic offense. It sends a ripple into the divine plan. And the universe, it always balances the books, not out of revenge, but alignment. What was sent to grow them, they tried to bury. And now they're reaping weeds where there could have been a garden. So when they sit in silence, when the fake smiles crack, when the new love feels empty and plastic, they'll remember not just what they lost, but how foolishly they before. They treated gold like gravel. Now the curse wears their name. When a fool mishandles what was sent to bless them, the universe doesn't just watch, it responds. Let's talk facts. They had something in their hands that people cry for, beg for, search lifetimes for, and they spit on it. Not because it wasn't valuable, but because their ego convinced them that value doesn't matter when it's already in your possession. And now, the curse is unfolding in real time, slow, icy, unforgiving. Because when you treat gold like gravel, you don't just lose the treasure, you trigger a spiritual drought. Chosen one, they didn't walk away from a good person. They walked away from a sacred assignment, someone who was sent into their life to protect, to anchor, to elevate. You were the steady hand in their chaos. The quiet prayer they never knew was being said over them, the energetic covering that kept certain storms from ever reaching them. But because you didn't come wrapped in arrogance or games, they thought you were ordinary. They mistook your softness for weakness, your forgiveness for foolishness, your loyalty for low standards. They saw your glow and assumed it was effortless. They never once paused to ask what it cost you to still love with that kind of intensity after everything you've survived. They didn't see the nights you cried yourself into resilience, the childhood wounds you alchemized into wisdom, the betrayals you transmuted into boundaries. No, your healing wasn't obvious enough to scare them. So they got comfortable, then careless, then cold, until they thought pushing you to the edge wouldn't change anything. But you weren't built to stay where you're not valued. You don't beg for seats at tables you were born to build. And when you finally walked, that's when the curse kicked in, quiet at first, then loud enough to make them sweat at night. That same job they bragged about feels hollow now. Those shallow hookups they swore were better than your depth can't hold a candle to the peace you brought with your presence. That upgrade they posted online turns out to be all packaging, no substance. Now they're stuck in empty rooms, surrounded by loud laughs with no soul behind them. Meanwhile, you, evolving, glowing, healing on levels they don't even have language for. You're rising in silence while they shrink in noise. And they feel it. Every scroll through social media, every time your name comes up, every time someone asks, what happened to her? They feel it. That ache in their spirit. That's the consequence of disrespecting something that was sent to save them. Let's go deeper. History tells this same story. Vincent van Gogh gave his genius to a world that mocked him. Harriet Tubman was doubted by the very people she risked her life to free. Jesus himself was betrayed by someone sitting at the same table. Chosen ones are rarely honored in the moment. They're remembered in the wake of the collapse they never deserved. And when the collapse hits, it always looks the same. A once blessed person now wandering through consequences they can't pray their way out of. And the cruel irony, you never asked for worship, just honesty, respect, effort, a little consistency. But because they couldn't even bring that to the table, they cursed their own name. And now that curse has a face: regret. You weren't just love, you were a lifeline. A rare breed of soul who loves with intention, stands with power, and forgives with grace. But they were too blind, too prideful, too spiritually reckless to see it. So now they're left fumbling their own downfall, and it's not bad luck. It's a universal correction. They didn't just lose you, they lost their access, their favor, their peace. And now they're learning the hard way. When you treat sacred things like trash, the universe doesn't just take it back. It leaves you with silence and shadow. And chosen one, that silence is your confirmation. You were never too much. They were just too small. Number 5. When you treat a divine connection like disposable currency, don't be shocked when the universe closes your account. Spiritual currency isn't paper, it's presence. And when you spend it like pocket change, don't cry when you're left bankrupt in the soul. Let's call this what it really is: a spiritual crime scene. Because when someone is sent into your life carrying protection, peace, and purpose, and you treat them like they're disposable, You're not just hurting a person, you're robbing yourself of access to divine flow. And the universe, it doesn't let that slide. There's no plea deal for spiritual violations. There's just correction, often disguised as chaos. You were never just a girlfriend, just a boyfriend, just someone they dated. You were spiritual currency, a walking breakthrough in human form. You brought clarity into confusion, calm into storms, elevation into stagnation. They didn't have to ask for miracles. You were the miracle.
You were the miracle.
You didn't just walk into their life. You shifted the entire atmosphere when you arrived.
That's what
but
we do,
instead of protecting that energy, they spent it carelessly, like it would never run out. They laughed at the idea of loss, took your loyalty for granted, ignored the way your presence healed them silently.
Yes,
and now they're stuck in the emotional aftermath of their own arrogance. They're in that quiet stage of collapse where nothing feels right and nothing feels exciting. The lights are on, but the soul is empty. You know the stage I'm talking about. They're posting pictures like life's amazing, smiling like the pains in the past. But inside, they're cracking. The guilt is creeping in. The what-ifs are screaming. Every happy moment is chased by the shadow of your absence. That new person they thought was a better fit can't even string together a conversation that touches their spirit. That new life they flaunted looks like gold, but feels like plastic. They thought walking away from you was freedom. Now it feels like spiritual jail. Because spiritual currency has a value they never studied. It's not loud. It doesn't boast. It just stabilizes everything it touches. And the second they lost access to your frequency, everything in their world began to tilt. Nothing sits right. Food doesn't taste the same. Victories feel empty. Nights are long. And joy fleeting. Not because you curse them, not because you're punishing them, but because spiritual law never forgets. It's written in energetic ink. They disrespected something rare, and now they're drowning in the result. The soul remembers what the ego denied. They tried to replace you with common energy, thinking you were just another option. But now, surrounded by actual common, they're suffocating in mediocrity. That temporary thrill can't mask the echo of your absence. And every time they try to silence the regret, the universe cranks up the volume. Too bad the realization came after the loss was permanent, because the moment they mishandled you, the universe closed their account. And now they're learning, when you treat a divine connection like pocket change, life gives you nothing but pennies in return. Number 6, they didn't ghost you. They tried to bury the evidence, but the guilt dug it back up.
Well, they going through it.
Silence isn't healing when it's built on guilt. It's just a graveyard where cowards bury their truth, and it always comes back haunted. Let's kill the illusion right now. That disappearing act, the sudden cold shoulder, the unread messages and hollow silence, that wasn't protecting peace. That wasn't needing space. That was spiritual damage control. A frantic attempt to bury the evidence of a betrayal they didn't have the courage to face. They didn't ghost you because they were done. They ghosted because they were guilty. They knew exactly what they did, and they knew exactly what they lost. But instead of standing up and owning the consequences like someone with integrity, they ran. Not because they were strong, not because they were healing, but because your light exposed their shadow, and that scared the hell out of them. You were too pure, too patient, too present, and in the presence of someone like you, they couldn't lie to themselves anymore. Looking you in the eye would have shattered the carefully constructed story they were telling themselves. That they were the victim, that they had a reason, that they outgrew the connection. But none of that held weight in your truth. Your energy was too real, your presence too powerful. So they vanished, not to find peace, but to avoid accountability. But here's the catch they didn't count on. You can ghost a person, but you can't ghost the universe. You can avoid the conversation, block the number, disappear from the timeline, but you can't outrun the energy you put out. And now, that energy is circling back. Fast, precise, ruthless. Every quiet moment they fought so hard to manufacture is now an echo chamber of shame. The song on the radio hits different. The places they used to go with you feel haunted. Dreams aren't restful. They're reruns of all the things they tried to forget. Conversations with new people turn awkward when someone brings up your name. And that peace they tried to fake, it's cracking at the seams. Let's be real, they didn't ghost you. They ghosted the version of themselves they didn't want to face. The liar, the manipulator, the one who fumbled something sacred and tried to play it cool. But spiritual conviction is louder than pride. It doesn't need receipts. It doesn't wait for closure. It begins the moment your actions betray someone protected by universal law. Their silence wasn't power, it was panic. That eerie quiet wasn't growth, it was guilt. And now that guilt is doing what they were too afraid to let happen. It's resurrecting. In memories, in missed chances, in the way they can't breathe fully anymore when your name comes up in a room, in the way your energy still lingers like a ghost at the back of their mind, reminding them that they could have had forever, but chose fear. They thought they could bury it, but what they didn't realize was this: truth doesn't stay buried. It rises, just like you did. And now, while you glow with grace and move forward with alignment, they're left standing in the same place they ran to for shelter. Except now it's a cage built out of silence, locked with guilt, and guarded by the very energy they thought they'd escaped. You didn't lose them. They abandoned the light, and now they're haunted by what they tried to silence. Because your presence always spoke louder than their lies. Number 7, they didn't just lie to you, they opened the gates to a spiritual ambush. Some betrayal.
Hey, for the ones just coming in, gratitude for allowing me into your energy divine. This right here is talking about your ex. They done committed a crime against you, divine. Hey, going against a chosen one. Your ex just realized you're not ordinary. They helped commit a spiritual crime against you. So, got you, divine. That's what we talk about.
Aren't just emotional. They're all someone you loved.
Yeah.
Let's make this brutally clear. What you went through wasn't a messy breakup or romantic confusion. It was spiritual warfare dressed as intimacy. This wasn't just a lie. They handed your name to your enemies on a silver platter, smiled in your face, and then watched you bleed behind closed doors. While you loved from a place of purity, with a heart that wanted to heal and build, they were entertaining whispers from people who wanted you broken. These weren't harmless jokes or harmless chats. These were strategy sessions of envy and sabotage.
So your old friends, yeah, they hooked up with him. I know Joe's someone. Don't worry about it. It's cool. It's all right. It's all right. Yeah. Your old friends, they hooked up with him. They always in it together, family. And now when I'm worth a fucking penny.
And they showed up for them, smiling, nodding, participating. Every time your name came up in those circles, they didn't flinch. They leaned in. You thought you were safe. You thought love meant protection. But what you didn't know was that the one you were trying to build with was spiritually rented out. They let lower energies use their mouth, their body, their choices to try and break you. Not because they didn't see your light, but because your light intimidated the hell out of them.
Damn.
You were walking elevation, and they felt smaller next to you.
Yeah.
Instead of rising, they aligned with gossipers without effort. Instead of defending your name, they sat at tables where your glow was picked apart like a threat. They fed fires started by people too weak to face you head on. That's not immaturity. That's spiritual treason. Let's call it what it is. Infiltration. You weren't just betrayed. You were infiltrated. Someone got close enough to touch your core, to access your sacred softness, and chose to leak that energy to forces that wanted your light dimmed. You were busy pouring in, praying for them, holding space for their healing. Meanwhile, they were handing your blueprint to your enemies like it was nothing. That's not a mistake. That's strategy. That's a soul-level hit job. And you felt it. You saw the red flags, didn't you?
Yeah, we see.
The shift in tone, the new coldness, the subtle digs. But instead of leaving, you chose to love harder. You were on assignment, not just in love. You thought maybe your presence could shift the atmosphere. Maybe your prayers could cover their cracks. But by the time you realized they were leaking your light into the wrong hands, they'd already let the poison in.
I ever doing shit like, hey, they'll leave the house. They go to hook up with you. Then they'll come, she'll come in, boo, and here they come. About an hour later, coming in the door. Hey, what's happening, man? What's going on? Spirit telling on how they had. That's why they all going through karma right now. They play with the light, the divine. They don't play with you, chosen. They can't play with the chosen. But we was there for a test, though. That's what they did, though. See, they thought we were just regular. They thought we was regular. Thought we was just humans. You got the last laugh, though, chosen. 441 when I say this on the clock, the chosen ones. I shake.
They tried everything: silence, ghosting, triangulation, emotional games, to wear you down, to make you question your worth. And when none of it worked, when you refused to crumble, they pulled away entirely, hoping that your own heart would destroy you from the inside. But here's the part they never saw coming.
What is it?
You weren't unprotected. You were watched over, guarded, divinely shielded. Every whisper recorded, every dagger counted, every table where your name was desecrated, now drenched in spiritual consequences. They thought your silence meant defeat, but it was actually the moment the universe stood up on your behalf. Now the backlash is real. The confusion they tried to leave you with, it's sitting heavy on their own chest. The chaos they fed, it's taking root in their own life. Nothing flows. Peace is gone. Joy is artificial. Because when you partner with darkness to try to destroy light, the darkness doesn't leave you unmarked. And here's the deeper tragedy. They didn't just lose you. They lost the last chance they had at real alignment. You were the lifeline, the reset, the spiritual mirror they didn't want to face. And now they're left with smoke, mirrors, and ghosts of a love they'll never get back. So
listen, chosen. Yeah, he's speaking. It's a spirit telling y'all what's going on, what really went on, you know. Hey, that's what happened. That's what happened. You know, so, hey, now we know, right? Now we know. That's what's happening, family. That's what happened. It's deep, ain't it? I know. But we won. We won. You know, they thought that they was getting away. No, it's a particular moment. We need all of it to accumulate. I don't want to hit them right there off. No. You gotta let it accumulate. You know, then it's gonna hit them right at the right moment. Chosen one. 444 when I say this. 444 when I say this. Ashe, we rise. Let's go.
No, they didn't just lie. They co-signed a spiritual assassination, and now the cost is echoing through every corner of their life. Because when you hand the sacred over to the bitter, the sacred doesn't burn, the betrayer does. Number 8. Your energy was their blessing, but they mocked the hand that held them. Fools don't just lose the blessing, they offend the source, and then wonder why the storm hits different after you leave. They thought you were just sweet, just patient, just kind. They mistook your warmth for weakness, your intuition for fantasy, your glow for lucky time, and the chaos their choices kept inviting in. You weren't just a partner, you were divine favor wearing skin, and they mocked the very force that was holding their life together. They laughed at your prayers, shrugged off your wisdom, and rolled their eyes when you warned them about energy shifts and spiritual attacks. They joked when you said your spirit felt uneasy. They smirked when you said the universe had a way of correcting imbalance. What they didn't know, those same crazy things were the only reason the storm hadn't swallowed them whole. You were never ordinary. Your presence in their life was strategic, not accidental. You were assigned to be there, to intercept spiritual consequences, to stabilize the atmosphere, to stand in the gap where their discipline, their accountability, their growth should have been. You were spiritually covering someone who never once paused to say thank you. And now they feel the shift. Everything's heavier now. There's a pressure in their chest they can't explain. Anxiety that doesn't go away. Confusion that lingers. Opportunities dry up before they land. Friendships feel off. Even sleep doesn't hit the same. It's not depression. It's not bad vibes. It's not Mercury in retrograde. It's the absence of your divine covering. You made life lighter for them. That wasn't coincidence. That was alignment. That was your energy moving behind the scenes, praying when they were out partying, meditating on their behalf when they couldn't focus, staying soft and anchored, even when they lashed out. You were the peace. The battlefield has reclaimed its territory. They thought the calm was normal. They thought the wins were just their hard work. They thought the glow was theirs alone. But what they had was a borrowed blessing, one they mocked until it walked away. They didn't see it before because your love was so pure, it looked effortless. But you carried the weight for two. You filled spiritual gaps they didn't even know they had. They just thought they were doing better. No, they were being carried. And now, stripped of that covering, life feels raw. Every decision feels risky. The consequences are no longer delayed. The blessings have stopped showing up on time because the source they spiritually locked in, and they disrespected it like it was noise. Here's the painful truth they're wrestling with right now. The blessing didn't leave because it was done giving. It left because it was mocked too many times, and the universe doesn't tolerate repeated dishonor. It lifts what was protecting you and lets you see the truth of what you mishandled. They can try to replace the presence, but they'll never replace the energy, because what you brought wasn't taught. It wasn't trendy. It wasn't fake. It was divinely placed, and they'll spend the rest of their life chasing shadows of what they only understood after it was gone. Number 9. They laughed while you cried, but you were in labor, not loss. The snake laughs at the eagle's silence, forgetting that silence is how the eagle hunts. They watched you fall apart and called it weakness, They saw your tears and whispered that you were fragile. They felt powerful seeing you question your worth. And yes, maybe they didn't laugh out loud, but in spirit, they rejoiced. Their pride inflated because they believed they had broken you. They thought walking away would destroy your foundation. That mistreatment would leave you shattered. That silence would suffocate your glow. But what they didn't realize was this: you weren't collapsing, you were contracting, you weren't in defeat, you were in labor, a sacred, messy, terrifying kind of labor, spiritual, emotional, mental. Your soul was dilating, stretching, ripping open to deliver a version of you that could no longer be manipulated, silenced, or discarded. You weren't breaking down, you were breaking through. Every tear, a cleansing, every sleepless night, a spiritual detox, every flash of rage, sadness, numbness, those were the signs of a soul entering metamorphosis. They thought the pain they caused would poison you, but all it did was purify you. The betrayal you endured wasn't your ending, it was your initiation. You were shedding skin, shaking loose from identities built around survival, codependency, overgiving. Everything in you was being cracked open so that purpose could finally push through. That's not collapse, that's creation. They celebrated too soon. They mistook your grief for failure. They saw your stillness and didn't realize it was strategy. Because chosen ones don't die in the fire. We're forged in it.
Yes, we are.
Ask history. Harriet Tubman lost everything only to become a force that led others to freedom. Nelson Mandela cried behind prison bars, and the world assumed he was finished until he walked out as a president. Every spiritual giant had a labor phase, a dark night of the soul that looked like defeat, but birthed destiny. You, chosen one, were not falling apart. You were being rebuilt with thicker skin, sharper discernment, unshakable peace. And while they mocked, partied, and paraded their new peace, your spirit was doing surgery. Your soul was clearing space, rewiring you for a level they were never designed to follow you into. That's why their joy was short-lived. That's why things started unraveling on their side once you disconnected. Because your presence had been sustaining them, but the moment you chose yourself, the scales rebalanced. They didn't destroy you, they exposed you. The power you forgot you had. And now, look at you, recentered, refined, reborn. They thought your tears made you weak, but those tears watered the garden of your rebirth. They weren't signs of defeat, they were signals of divine transformation. So let them watch, let them ache, let them reflect on how they danced in your dark hour, unaware that they were dancing at the birth of the version of you that doesn't settle, doesn't beg, and never shrinks. They didn't witness your breakdown, they witnessed your becoming.
Let's go.
And now, it's too late to return to the place they abandoned, because the cocoon is gone, and in its place stands a force they were never built to stand beside. You weren't defeated, you were being delivered. Number 10. They fell for a clone and lost the blueprint.
They fell for a clone, dog.
A fool doesn't know the value of gold until they trade it for glitter. And find out too late that shine without substance is just dust in disguise. In their arrogance, they thought you were replaceable. They believed they could walk away from something rare and stumble into something equal. But what they failed to understand is that you weren't just a partner. You were the prototype, the original, the blueprint. And when you walk away from the original, all that's left to chase is cheap imitations with no soul. They didn't fall for love. They fell for a clone, a reflection that mimicked your light, borrowed your words, maybe even copied your softness. But imitation is not embodiment. They thought they could trade in divine connection, but now the illusion is fading. The mask is slipping. The energy they thought felt familiar is falling flat. You see, your power was never in what you said. It was in what you carried. That deep, calming presence. That ability to love from a place of healing, not trauma. That patience that wasn't rooted in desperation, but spiritual discipline. The clone they ran to, she can't replicate that. She can mirror the aesthetic, but not the frequency. She can act emotionally intelligent, but it's a performance, not a path. She knows how to be liked, not how to love. And that's the trap they walked into. At first, it probably felt exciting. New face, new vibe, new attention. But now the high has worn off, and they're starting to feel the weight of their decision. It's not just that they miss you, they miss the clarity you brought, the depth, the grounding. Because this new person, she requires nothing of them, no growth, no accountability, no transformation, just attention, just ego stroking, just surface. They thought you were difficult when all you did was challenge their stagnancy. You wanted them to confront their demons, to evolve, to match your emotional depth with effort and healing. That scared them, so they ran to someone who wouldn't require that. But now that safety feels like a trap, not a home, and what they once called peace now feels like emptiness in disguise. They aren't being loved, they're being mirrored. And the worst part, they know it. Deep down, they can feel the hollowness, the fake support, the shallow connection. They feel unseen, even in company, because what they traded for comfort can't hold the weight of real love. It was never built for it. Meanwhile, you've outgrown that entire cycle. You've moved on, not just physically, but spiritually. You no longer try to make yourself palatable for people who fear real intimacy. You no longer explain your worth to someone who chose fantasy over truth. You've shed the version of you that begged to be understood. You now stand as someone who demands to be received in full or not at all. And they see it. They see you glowing, grounded, and completely unreachable in the spirit. They can't just call you back. The line is dead, not because you're bitter, but because the covenant is broken. The blessing has been retracted. And what they're left with? A pretty echo, a hollow substitute, a partner who looks the part but carries no spiritual weight. No matter how many clones they chase, none will carry your grace, your wisdom, your covering. They thought they upgraded, but they downgraded in every category that actually matters. Because divine love doesn't just walk, it ascends. And you were the blueprint. What they're left with now is a shadow, a cheap echo of what they were too blind, too prideful, and too deep. They didn't just lose you, they lost alignment, protection, and a love that carried weight. You were the original, the spiritual shield, the rare soul they weren't equipped to honor. Let them chase clones while you continue to rise. If this message spoke to your soul, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop the number 77 in the comments to claim your rebirth. And don't keep this healing to yourself. Share it with someone else who needs to remember.
I'm sharing it with the chosen.
We rise louder, stronger, and wiser, always.
Ooh. He just went in. That's what they doing out here, chosen. Damn. I'm glad we on the other side. Damn, we pressure. Boy, y'all pressure out here. Y'all pressure. They done traded that. Hey, they traded you in for a clone. They traded you in for a clone, Chosen. Yeah, they traded you in for a clone, fam. Damn shame. Ain't got no spiritual weaponry, no spiritual protection. Nothing. He just got the eyes out. We want to just let them have it. Let them have them. They can have all they self. Everybody, let them all be together. Yeah. Let them all be happy together. We rising. We glowing. We the truth. We the light. We the ones they really truly needed in their journey. We come down. We rise. I knew it wasn't me. Well, I'm doing. Chosen, wasn't you. You doing what you supposed to do. They the ones lost. And they gotta say, I didn't even look at that. Look at this. Yeah. Yeah, they strolling on the phone, looking at, on your page. They like, damn, look what I done messed up with. They looking good. Damn, they looking good. They looking good. Damn, I miss them. They got their notifications on when you come on live. They be like, bloop. Look at them. They looking so good today. Screenshot. Oh, well. Hey, Spirit. Damn, they looking good. Baby, where you at? Stand this mother. You don't look nothing like. Oh, we stepping on shit around here. Hold up, Joe. They gotta look at that clone now. Yeah. Clone got naps in his head like a mother. He ain't got no. Let me stop. It's about to be love. It's love, y'all. Stop playing. Hey, this one. They took my whole phone. That's dang shame. They took your whole phone. They took me. Damn, she look good. Shit, I miss her. Let me see what kind of picture she got up in there. Oh, what? That's crazy. You got your phone, fam. This is another one. This one right here is this one gonna be juicy. Let's see what this one talking about. Hey, a secret competition over you just got ugly. Uh-oh. I know y'all had them secret competitions. They want to be you chosen. A secret competition just got ugly. Y'all want to hear it? And find out we nosy. I'm nosy. Nosy today. I am north. Hey, you nosy today. BR, you nosy today. Nico, what's up? Peace, Nico. I see you. We all nosy in here. Queen T, we nosy today. Kiss, I know you want to be nosy. Let's see what they talk about.
Nobody breaks alliances over someone they've dismissed. When their voices rose, when their hands shook, when reputations went up in flames, it wasn't because you were weak. It was because your presence is too strong to ignore. They thought they could bury their feelings under layers of denial, but denial doesn't last forever. The body betrays what the mouth tries to hide. The eyes linger too long. The voice cracks at the wrong time. The energy shifts the moment your name enters the room. They thought they were in control, but their control slipped. And what happened next? An eruption, a fight, a war they couldn't stop once the truth broke loose. Let's call it what it is. They fought harder to protect their lies about you than they ever fought for their own dignity. Imagine that. Whole friendships torn apart, alliances scorched, reputations ruined, not because you lifted a single finger, but because they couldn't control the storm inside them. That is power, your power. The power of being chosen is not about shouting, not about proving yourself, not about demanding attention. It's about your existence being so undeniable that even those who try to erase you end up writing your name in fire. Chosen ones, before we dive deeper, let me pause for one request. If this message is already hitting you where it matters, show your support. Hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share this with others who need this kind of fire in their life. Every click, every share, every comment fuels us to keep creating more content that shakes the lies, exposes the truth, and reminds you of your unstoppable power. Your support isn't just numbers on a screen. It's what keeps this movement alive,
keep this movement going,
and reaching more chosen ones like you.
We're reaching out.
Chosen ones, let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed how people claim you're nothing to them, but then can't seem to stop bringing you up?
Right.
Have you ever wondered why people who don't care spend more time proving they don't care than actually moving on? That's the irony. Indifference is quiet. True dismissal walks away without a word. But obsession shouts. It builds stories. It breaks masks. And that's exactly what you witnessed. Their obsession with you erupted so violently that it tore their own circle apart. Picture this. Imagine someone insisting they're on a diet, yet they're the first one to throw a fit when someone else grabs the last cookie. Doesn't add up, does it? That's the same energy at play here. If you truly didn't matter, they wouldn't argue, wouldn't scream, wouldn't break each other down over you. The fight they staged was their confession in disguise. Their rage was proof. Their chaos was the evidence. They exposed themselves while trying to erase you, and in doing so, they confirmed what you've always known. You hold the kind of weight they can't carry, the kind of presence they can't deny. Chosen ones, this is the burden and the blessing of your power. You didn't ask for their obsession, you didn't invite their lies, but your authenticity pulls out what others try to hide. You are the mirror they can't shatter, no matter how many times they swing. And when the mirror shows them what they don't want to see, panic sets in. Their panic became that you are the center they tried to erase. And let's get this straight. It wasn't about your flaws. It wasn't about mistakes. It wasn't even about reputation. It was about the truth of how deeply you affect them. Some are jealous, some are secretly admiring, some are caught in an attraction they can't admit. And because honesty terrifies them, they build masks. But masks slip. Chosen ones, lies crack, pretenses break. And when they do, the eruption is messy, loud, and impossible to hide. So here's the revelation. That fight wasn't your downfall. It was your proof. Proof that you don't need to lift a finger to disrupt entire systems. Proof that your existence alone commands attention. Proof that you are the storm they can't outrun, no matter how fast they spin their stories. They thought they were hurting you with their lies, but in reality, they were only protecting themselves from admitting how much you matter. Chosen ones, let this motivate you. Let it fuel you. When people expose themselves like this, it's not your job to defend, to explain, or to argue. Your silence is stronger than their noise. Your steadiness is sharper than their chaos. While they burn each other down in arguments over you, you remain untouched, unshaken, undeniable. That is the true power of being chosen.
Or chosen ones. Boy, I sure love these messages. I ain't gonna lie, y'all, because, man, we healing. This is so healing, just to know, you know? We already knew within us, but Spirit gonna come and tell us. Most High, hey, ancestors, man, they gonna come and tell us, family. In so many different ways, man, we're gonna hear about it. Period. It's so perfectly aligned. See, we're in alignment, family. Everything is coming out. Veil has been lifted, and everything shall be told. Yeah.
Not in the noise, but in the fact that your presence rewrites the room even when you say nothing. So take this as your reminder tonight. Their fight wasn't your weakness. It was their confession. Their chaos wasn't your shame. It was their exposure. And their denial wasn't your problem. It was their prison. You chosen ones are the center they can't erase, the truth they can't bury, and the fire they can't control. That's not just survival. That's dominance without lifting a hand. And chosen ones, let me pause right here to speak directly to you. If this message is striking a nerve, if you can feel the truth of it lining up with your own experiences, don't just sit back. Show that you're part of this movement. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a 77 in the comments if you're ready to see how their lies and eruptions are actually
feel like you need to give a gift.
Your support is what keeps us pushing forward, bringing you the kind of raw, life-changing truth that ordinary people can't even handle. And believe me, as we dive into this step by step, you'll recognize every sign for yourself. Only the chosen ones feel this. Only the chosen ones live through it. Now let's get started, because this explosive fight wasn't the end of you, it was the revelation of you. Number one, they built fake stories, not to fool others, but to escape their own truth. They painted a false picture of you to cover the cracks in their own mirror. When people can't face their reflection, they smear the mirror instead. My dear chosen ones, let's get something straight. The stories they created about you were never really about you. They were about their inability to handle the truth of what you trigger inside them. Think about it. They called you arrogant because your confidence reminded them of how small they felt in their own skin. They called you a problem because your presence disrupted the fragile comfort they were trying to hold on to. They couldn't admit that you unsettled them, that you stirred something they couldn't explain. So instead of saying, "This person affects me deeply," they rewrote the script and turned you into a character of their imagination. And chosen ones, that character was never the real you. It was camouflage, a shield, a mask they wore to protect themselves from the vulnerability of honesty. Ask yourself this: if you truly didn't matter, why invest so much energy creating a story? Who spends endless hours talking, denying, and convincing others about someone irrelevant? Nobody. The very act of building those lies was proof of your impact. They weren't trying to ruin you. They were trying to save themselves from facing what you represented. Because when they looked at you, they saw everything they feared and everything they secretly admired. You became a walking reminder of their insecurities, and rather than deal with that, they constructed a fake version of you that was easier to manage. But here's where it gets even more revealing. Chosen ones. Those stories weren't created for the public first. No, they were created for their own survival. They were talking themselves out of their true feelings long before they tried talking anyone else into it. Imagine them whispering their own lies at night, repeating them until the repetition felt like comfort. They don't matter to me. They're nothing. They're irrelevant over and over, as if saying it enough times would erase the truth. But here's the reality. They couldn't run from the truth because their body remembered it. Their voice betrayed them when your name was mentioned. Their eyes flickered with something they couldn't hide when someone defended you. Their emotions slipped through in ways they never intended. until eventually it all erupted in a fight that exposed them completely. That explosive argument wasn't born in a single moment. No, it had been brewing for months, maybe even years, inside their private contradictions. Their words and their feelings were at war, and tension like that always seeks release. You didn't have to provoke it. You didn't have to say a word. The truth they tried to bury was pushing, scratching, clawing its way out. And when the pressure became unbearable, the eruption came, and suddenly the world saw what you always knew. Their story about you wasn't about you at all. It was about them. Chosen ones. Here's the brutal truth they can't admit. The lies they told weren't reflections of your reality. They were reflections of theirs. They projected their own fears, their own insecurities, their own hidden desires onto you like a movie screen. You were never the villain in their story. You were the mirror, and mirrors don't lie. That's why the fight broke out. Because truth doesn't sit quietly. It doesn't die in silence. It grows restless. It scratches at the edges, and when the weight becomes too much, it erupts in ways no lie can contain. And let's break it down with an example you'll understand instantly. Imagine someone buying a knockoff designer bag. On the outside, they might convince themselves it looks just like the real thing. They brag about it, show it off, pretend it carries the same weight. But deep down, they know it's fake. Every time they see the real thing, that insecurity burns. They'll tell everyone around them, this one is just as good, but the reality gnaws at them. That's what their lies about you were, knockoff versions of the truth. And every time your realness walked into the room, their fake story cracked. So when they lost control, when the fight broke out, it wasn't about you doing anything wrong. It was about them finally losing the battle against themselves. The mask slipped, the script collapsed, the truth demanded release, and their lies couldn't hold it back any longer. And chosen ones, let that motivate you. Don't ever waste energy defending yourself against fabrications that were never about you to begin with. See their stories for what they are, mirrors of their own chaos. The power of being chosen is this. You don't have to chase down lies. You don't have to clear your name. You don't even have to lift a finger, because sooner or later, their behavior exposes them. The cracks in their mask widen, the truth bleeds through, and the lies collapse under their own weight. Your existence is enough. Your presence is the pressure that makes them stumble. And when they stumble, everyone watching sees exactly who was telling the truth all along. So remember this, chosen ones. The stories they spread were never your burden. They were their shield, their fake armor, their desperate attempt to rewrite what they couldn't face. And just like every shield built from lies, it shattered at the moment truth pressed hard enough. That's why the fight happened. It wasn't your downfall. It was their confession. Number 2, their words staged a play, but their actions leaked the real script. Their words were a smokescreen. Their bodies told the real story. Say whatever you want. The body never lies for long. My dear chosen ones, listen close. People think they can build castles of noise with their mouths and hide the truth behind the mortar of repetition. They speak loud, rehearsed lines. They posture. They sound convincing. But all the while, their bodies are drafting a different confession. If you ever wondered why someone who promises they don't care about you keeps checking your profile, mentioning your name, or freezing when you walk in, the answer is simple. Actions outpace words every time. Words are theater. Behavior is reality. They swore up and down that you were irrelevant. They said you had no pull, no weight, no impact. Yet their eyes tracked your movement like a compass needle. Their laughter dropped when your name came up. Their casual stories always bent back to you like a river finding its channel. Why? Because obsession doesn't announce itself politely. It leaks. And those leaks start small. a lingering glance, a throat clear at the wrong moment, a sudden quiet when your presence is mentioned. To the trained observer and chosen ones, you are trained by experience. These micro movements write the confession they refuse to speak out loud. Ask yourself, chosen ones, who spends energy constructing denials unless something is worth denying? Who rehearses contempt unless something demands being denied? Indifference is a quiet departure. It doesn't organize narratives or rally allies to repeat talking points. What we saw was a coordinated choreography of denial, and choreography needs rehearsal, which means that underneath the performance was an emotional investment they couldn't afford to admit. They thought they could spin the story away from you. Instead, their bodies became the broadcast. Here's a hard fact. People can regulate words. They cannot fully govern gestures. Words can be edited, retold, polished. Behavior slips out in the heat of the moment. A raised hand, a sudden clench, a voice that rises not from reason but from panic. That is where the truth sleeps and then wakes. When one person's heartbeat betrays the script, the rest scramble to maintain the fiction. And in that scramble, contradictions collide. Two different lies about the same person cannot coexist without friction. The friction generates heat. Heat creates explosions. That's how your presence turned denial into warfare. Let's make it practical. Picture a room where everyone says you're nothing. Then someone laughs too hard at someone else's jab about you. Someone else winces at a compliment you once received. And suddenly the energy changes. That change isn't about you. It's the pressure of lies trying to hold shape. When it collapses, the architecture of deception comes down, and the people who built it reveal themselves. Their behavior exposes not only their obsession, but the type of obsession: envy, fear, a secret admiration they're too proud to own. Each motion becomes a clue. The fight that erupts is the result of those clues being read out loud. Chosen ones, this is your advantage. While they are busy staging denial, you are a living truth in the room. You don't have to fight to be seen. Their actions do it for you. Watch for the small things. Who can't stop mentioning you? Who deflects praise about you with a joke? Who mirrors your moves and then pretends it's coincidence? These are the signatures of a story that can't hold. When behavior betrays the narrative, observers begin to sniff out the inconsistency. Friends become less gullible. Allies pause. The smokescreen loses density until it clears completely. You might ask, should I call them out? Should I expose their hypocrisy? No, not always. The more you engage the theater, the more oxygen you give the performance. Instead, remain present and steady. Let the truth bloom through their unguarded gestures. Let their own actions discredit their words. When the chaos finally ignites, the world will witness the match they struck themselves. Your steadiness will stand in contrast to their unraveling. Remember this, chosen ones. Words are loud, but bodies are honest. Their script was loud enough to fill a room. Their behavior was quiet enough to reveal everything. And when the two are forced to coexist, truth wins. You didn't have to prove your worth. Their movements did it for you. Keep watching. The next time they try to mask obsession with noise, notice the cracks. Their behavior will tell you everything they refuse to say.
Body language, baby.
Number 3. The battle was never about you. It was a power grab over your name. They didn't fight over you. They fought for the right to write your story. They didn't argue about the truth. They fought for the pen that could make their lie stick. Chosen ones, listen close. This explosion had nothing to do with you as a person, and everything to do with somebody's desperate need to be the author of your reputation. Imagine a room full of people who've spent months, maybe years, trading versions of you like currency. Each version crafted to protect a little ego, to explain away a little envy, to justify a little fear. Now picture those versions colliding. That collision is what set the whole thing on fire.
Right.
It wasn't your presence that rattled them. It was the realization that none of them actually controlled the narrative anymore.
Right.
And when control slipped, chaos arrived. Why does anyone fight for a narrative?
Right.
Because a story controls behavior. A story decides who gets sympathy, who gets trust, who gets dismissed. If they can make everyone believe you're the villain, they get to breathe easier. If they can sell the lie that you're arrogant, manipulative, or dangerous, suddenly their own insecurity looks like wisdom. The pen that writes your story gives them power. The power to make others see you through the lens they prefer. That's worth more to them than truth. So they turned on one another, not because your name was worth blood, but because losing the ability to define you meant losing a lever they'd use to steady themselves.
Ooh.
Think about how this plays out in real life.
Right.
One person says they're ruthless. Another says, no, they're insecure. A third says they're attention-seeking. Each version reinforces a different self-image for the speaker. Those small narratives keep their fragile identities intact. But stories that contradict one another can't coexist. When everyone's been feeding a different script into the same room, the cracks show.
Yeah.
One person's lie undermines another's.
Yeah.
Suddenly,
True.
the camp that once nodded in agreement begins to fracture because no one wants to be the one whose version gets revealed as fake.
Right.
The argument becomes less about you and more about survival. Whose lie will hold up?
Yeah.
Whose reputation will survive scrutiny? And here's the brutal truth. Chosen ones, their fight to own your narrative exposed their fear more than your value. When people scramble for control of your image, it's an admission, a clumsy, noisy admission that you matter. If you were truly small to them, they wouldn't have built empires of story around you. They wouldn't have rehearsed lines, recruited witnesses, or traded whispers. Your presence disrupted their neat system of self-deception, and they reacted like people who've lost a prop on stage. Panic, improvisation, blame. They turned on each other because the stage collapsed and everyone could see the ropes.
Right.
You don't need to defend the truth about yourself when others are busy fighting over the version of you they want to sell.
Right.
Let their scramble be your vindication. The louder they argue about who gets to define you, the clearer it becomes that the real story, your real story, is inconvenient for them. Their desperation to own your image reveals just how powerless their control actually is.
Right.
They try to carve you into a shape they can contain, but containment is impossible when the person at the center is alive, present, and undeniable.
Let's go.
So what do you do, chosen ones? Watch. Let them write their scripts. Let them shout for the pen. In the end, performances collapse under their own contradictions. The person who sought to frame you as cold will contradict the one who framed you as dangerous. The camp that tried to label you weak will be undone by those who labeled you threatening.
Come on now.
Their arguments become a forensic record of their insecurities.
Yes, it does.
You remain the constant. Your silence, your consistency, and your steady presence will do what no spin can.
Right.
Reveal the contradictions in their stories.
Yes, it will.
Remember this, they fought over the story because stories are how cowards hide. And the more they fought, the more obvious their cowardice became. Their war over your narrative was a confession that they couldn't stand to let you tell your own truth. But you don't need permission to exist, nor do you need their approval to be valid. The fight that broke out over you wasn't a defeat. It was a dismantling of the very mechanism they used to keep you small. Hold that. Let their hunger for control be the proof of your power. They scrambled for authorship, and in doing so, revealed the one thing they hoped you'd never see, that you were always the one in the right place, even when they tried to convince the world otherwise. Number 4. Their fury was only camouflage for feelings they couldn't face. Their rage was nothing but desire wearing a mask. Hatred is often love that lost its courage. My dear chosen ones, let's strip away the noise and get to the marrow of this truth. Hatred never springs out of nowhere.
Right.
It has roots, and those roots often grow in the soil of desire. Desire too terrifying, too vulnerable, too humiliating for someone to admit. That's why the rage directed at you burned so hot. It wasn't born from casual dislike. It was born from hidden feelings that had been buried so long they rotted into poison. Think about it. Real indifference doesn't argue.
Right.
Indifference doesn't shout, doesn't obsess, doesn't rip apart friendships and alliances just because your name gets mentioned. Indifference walks away. But chosen ones, what happened here was the opposite. They couldn't walk away from you because the truth inside them refused to sit still. Their fury was the proof. Their rage was the confession they never intended to make.
Right.
For some, it was admiration, repressed, smothered, denied. They saw qualities in you they longed for but couldn't reach. Your confidence, your calm, your ability to stand unshaken in storms. They wanted it for themselves, but instead of saying, "I respect that," they twisted their admiration into hostility.
Wow.
Why? Because it was easier to paint you as arrogant than to admit they felt small in comparison.
Oh.
It was easier to call you the problem than to admit you were the solution they wished they could embody.
Oh.
For others, it was jealousy. Raw, gnawing, merciless jealousy.
Damn.
Watching you shine in spaces where they struggled felt unbearable. You walked into rooms and shifted the energy. They dragged themselves into the same rooms and barely left a ripple. That imbalance tore at them, and instead of facing the discomfort, they dressed their jealousy in anger, thinking that shouting at you would somehow shrink your presence. It didn't. It never does. If anything, their rage only made your light more undeniable. And then, for a few, it went even deeper. Attraction they could never admit. A pull toward you they tried to bury under insults and denial. An energy that both fascinated and terrified them. They wanted closeness, but couldn't stand what it would reveal about them. That contradiction, desire on one side, denial on the other, turned them into a live wire, sparking unpredictably until the only outlet was rage.
Damn.
Ask yourself, chosen ones, how else could it play out? How could they admit they admired the very person they tried to discredit?
That's crazy.
How could they confess they wanted to be close to the one they swore to despise? They couldn't. Their entire image, their whole performance would have shattered.
Yep.
So they let the truth ferment in silence until it exploded in violence. That's why the fight wasn't just words. It was confession disguised as accusation. Every insult was a clue. Every raised voice was an admission. When they shouted, "You think you're better than us," what they really said was, "We believe you are." When they sneered, "You just want attention," what they revealed was, "We can't stop giving it to you." Their rage betrayed them. They told on themselves. And chosen ones, let me be clear, their battle was never really against you. The war was inside of them. They were fighting the mirror you held up without even trying. You became the reflection they couldn't shatter. Their tantrum on the outside was just a projection of the chaos within. That's why the fight spiraled so wildly. They weren't just yelling at you, they were yelling at themselves for wanting you, admiring you, needing you, envying you. This is why their anger should never make you shrink. If anything, it should confirm your power. Rage that intense doesn't aim itself at the ordinary. Nobody loses sleep, friendships, or reputations over people who don't matter. They only erupt like this when they are pressed against a truth they can't silence. And you, chosen ones, are that truth. So let this sink in. Their fury wasn't about tearing you down. It was about protecting themselves from being exposed. They feared that if they admitted the real root of their feelings, their entire mask would fall apart. But the irony is, they exposed themselves anyway. The very rage they thought would protect them became the spotlight revealing everything they tried to hide. And that's the revelation you need to carry.
Yeah, it is.
Their anger wasn't your downfall, it was your validation. Their fight wasn't proof of your weakness, it was proof of your power. Every scream, every insult, every broken bond was the sound of them confessing what they couldn't say out loud.
Right.
That you stir something in them they cannot control.
Gratitude, Chosen, for allow me into your energy, divine. This one right here is for the chosen ones. An explosion fight erupted over you after they lied about your true feeling, about their true feelings. They're going crazy out here over you, chosen one. Your energy, you got big energy. They going crazy because they don't know how to get you back. Not knowing their bridge is burnt and gone. That version of us is gone, dead and gone. It's not here no more. It don't exist. We done rose. You know, we rising. We on a whole different frequency now. Hey, it's just like, hey, they see your glow now. They're like, damn, you know, we messed up. Yeah, you did. Hold up.
Chosen ones, don't ever forget this. Their battle wasn't about destroying you. It was about shielding themselves from the truth you represent.
Right.
And in the end, the harder they tried to bury it, the louder it came roaring out. Number 5. Lies became their armor because truth would have exposed their cracks. They lied because the truth would have cracked their armor and shown the man behind the mask. When your image depends on being untouchable, one honest truth is a hand grenade. Chosen ones, listen close. Their fabrications weren't clever attacks. They were the last defense of people who had built their lives around pretending not to feel. They spent years polishing a persona, unshakable, composed, untouchable. That persona wasn't humility, it was construction. And the moment you arrived with real competence, calm, or confidence, that construction stood on a cliff. Admitting you were admirable, impactful, or even frightening would have been the same as admitting their scaffolding was temporary. That admission would have shown the soft spots they'd hidden behind jokes, status, and brittle swagger. So they lied. They lied because the alternative, honesty, would have toppled the entire show. Why lie? Because truth is not just inconvenient for them. Truth is existential. To own the truth about you would mean confessing they'd been measuring themselves against you and coming up short. It would mean admitting fear, envy, admiration. Words that crack the facade of unassailable cool. When people's identities are invested in being untouchable, a single honest truth about someone else becomes a threat. Instead of facing it, they double down. They recruit others, fabricate narratives, and stage a chorus of proof to silence the whisper in their own chest that says, I don't measure up. Think of it like this. Someone builds an elaborate costume and wears it so long, the costume starts to define them. They rehearse lines, practice expressions, perform for the crowd. Then you walk in, not acting, not performing, simply being. Your presence unmasks them, not because you intend to, but because your authenticity makes their act look hollow. Their instinct isn't to change, it's to defend. So they make you the villain. They call you arrogant, reckless, undeserving. Those slurs are not arguments, they're armor. The louder they shout, the more they hope the noise will hide the tremor beneath their own mask. Chosen ones, you might be asking, should I confront them, prove them wrong? The honest answer is, you don't have to. People invested in performance will always prefer spectacle to reflection. When their imaginary safety net unravels, their reaction is a public panic, flailing, overreaction, drama. That explosive fight we saw, that was not strategy. It was a meltdown. It was a panic attack in public by people terrified that the props holding up their identity were burning. Here's the harder truth to hold. Their lies are defensiveness, not truth claims. They are glue trying to hold a broken mask together. Lies demand maintenance, new stories, louder voices, staged evidence. But maintenance is exhausting. Eventually, fatigue shows. Contradictions pile up. Allies who agreed to the story start to wobble. That's when the facade cracks and the real person bleeds through. And when it does, the spectacle they created to protect themselves becomes the very thing that exposes them. Don't confuse their cruelty with power, chosen ones. Cruelty is often the last repertoire of the insecure. Power is quiet. Power is how you carry yourself when the room erupts. Power is remaining steady while they perform. Their lies were designed to make you scramble, to make you justify, to make you sweat. Resist that trap. Your steadiness makes the lies look small. Your competence turns their theater into a mirror that shows their fear in plain view. Use their panic as your proof. Use their overreactions as a ledger of the influence you hold. Every accusation they flung was an admission, an awkward, clumsy confession of what you represent to them, a standard, a mirror, a threat to their imagined control. That's not your failing, it's their exposure. So remain chosen, remain still, and let truth do its work. They lied to protect their image, but lies rarely outlive reality. When the cost of keeping a lie becomes higher than facing the truth, people crumble. And when they crumble, the audience sees clearly who was honest, who was acting, and who was merely terrified of being seen. Your presence did not break them, it revealed them. And that revelation, it was always on your side. Number 6. The fight ripped the masks off, showing faces they swore didn't exist. The fight tore off their masks and revealed the secret wardrobes they kept in the dark. When the theater lights hit, you see the costumes. When the argument flares, you see the closet. My dear chosen ones, pay attention to this. What happened in that explosion wasn't just a quarrel. It was a live unmasking. For months, for years maybe, certain people wore carefully tailored versions of themselves like outfits. The encouraging confidant behind closed doors, the bored observer in public, the loud critic when it served their agenda. They practiced those roles until the seams looked real. But the moment the pressure hit, truth and the costume ripped, and in closets spilled. Suddenly, the private public didn't match. The friendly smile had a backstage shadow. The critic's sneer had a private admiration tucked beneath it. And you, chosen ones, were the catalyst that pulled the curtain back. Ask yourself, why does someone praise you in whispers and humiliate you in rooms full of people? Why does the same hand that clapped for you behind the scenes join the chorus that tries to bury you later? It's because double lives survive only in silence and careful choreography. When everyone agrees to keep the show going, contradictions go unnoticed. But conflict is a spotlight. It forces choices. Do you maintain the fiction, or do you own the truth? Most can't do both. Under pressure, they fracture. The fight didn't invent those fissures, it just made them visible. Think of it this way. Imagine a person who wears sunglasses indoors to look cool, then removes them while crying in private. One face for the mirror, one face for the mirror's reflection. That's what you were seeing. Some who praised you behind closed doors were finally forced to show their admiration, even if awkwardly, because the facade wouldn't hold. Others who smiled in your face couldn't stomach watching you be defended and snapped. Jealousy pouring out so obvious it needed no translation. Even those who played indifferent revealed themselves in the heat of the moment. Their anger at defenders made the lie louder than any carefully crafted quiet. What does this mean for you? Simple. The fight was a clearing. You no longer have to guess who stands where. You don't have to sift through whispers or decode smiles. The eruption did the sorting for you. Allies who were only allies when it was safe were exposed. Enemies who pretended not to care were unmasked as watchers from the wings. The confusion, the doubts, the maybe they're with me, maybe they're not. Those doubts dissolved because contradictions cannot hide in public conflict. They become evidence. And don't mistake this exposure for victory on their part. Their double lives collapsing is not their triumph, it's their defeat. They lost the ability to control the story because truth is the only thing that can dismantle carefully built illusions. You, chosen ones, didn't wage a campaign to reveal them. Your presence simply forced the world to catch up to reality. The safer thing for them would have been honesty, but honesty requires strength many didn't have. So they chose performance until performance became impossible. Now, you might ask, should I confront them? Call them out. Use prudence. Not every exposed person deserves confrontation. Some need time to reconcile their contradictions privately. Others will double down and cling to their roles. Your task is different. Observe, protect your peace, and let the light do the work. When the masks fall, people reveal where they truly stand. Use that clarity to choose who stays in your circle and who walks away. The fight has given you a map. You don't need to redraw it. Remember this as you move forward. Being the person who compels truth to surface is not a curse. It's a responsibility and a kind of power. You didn't break them. Their own balancing act did. And when the dust settles, what remains is clarity. The double lives that once made you question yourself no longer have the cover of ambiguity. Stand tall, chosen ones. The masks have fallen, the closets are open, and now you can rebuild your world around people whose faces match their words.
Come on now.
Number 7. You stood as the mirror they tried to smash, but couldn't silence. You became the mirror they kept smashing, hoping the cracks would vanish. They swung at your reflection because they couldn't stand to see what the light showed on their own faces. My dear chosen ones, listen closely. When people attack you with that kind of heat, it isn't random cruelty, it's panic in disguise. Your quiet presence holds up a mirror they've avoided for years, a mirror that shows the parts of themselves they've been hiding behind bravado and borrowed stories. Rather than turn and work on those cracks, they tried to destroy the reflection. They thought if they could break the mirror, the truth would shatter with it. But mirrors don't lie. They only show what already exists. And what they revealed when they looked. A messy mix of secret admiration, buried envy, and the shortcomings they've been masking with posture and performance. Ask yourself, why throw stones at a reflection? Because admitting what the mirror shows would mean admitting weakness. It would mean confessing, I am less than I wanted the world to believe. So they weaponize mockery, jokes that sting, rumors that spread, loud denials that sound like armor. All of it is performative. Their fury is noise meant to cover the silence of their own self-confrontation. They lash out not primarily to hurt you, but to soothe the shame they cannot tolerate being seen. Their anger is the rattle of brittle armor, clumsy and loud, trying to buy them a few more moments before the reflection becomes undeniable. Chosen ones, here's the hard truth. Your steadiness sharpens the mirror. The calmer you remain, the clearer the image becomes. You don't need to fight back. Resistance will only give their drama oxygen. Authenticity disarms them because authenticity has no agenda to defend. It simply stands. People who live inside stories need other stories to prop them up. When you show up as reality, unvarnished, unbothered, consistent, those stories lose their glue. Your life presses on the weak seams of their narratives until the seams split open. Their contradictions spill into the light, and suddenly the performance is exposed for what it always was. Theater. Think of a room where someone's been wearing a mask so long they forgot what their face looked like. When the mirror appears, panic sets in. Some will double down into cruelty, throwing ugliness at you to erase what they see. Others will try to imitate you, copy your gestures, your phrases, your confidence, but imitation without understanding looks empty and fails to fool anyone. A few will retreat so deep into denial that they repeat their lies louder, hoping repetition rewires reality. Each reaction only confirms the same thing. You became the measure they secretly feared. You might ask, should I confront them? Should I force them to see? Number, that's not your job. The mirror works whether you polish it or not. Your role is to remain steady, to live without apology, to allow their own behavior to be the evidence against their stories. When they rage at their reflection, they reveal more than they conceal. The fight over you becomes a confession, a spectacle that points back to them, not to you. People watching will see the pattern: who attacks, who imitates, who tries to rewrite truth with noise. The audience isn't blind. Authenticity reads loud and clear. So let their swings be the proof of your power. Let their efforts to shatter the mirror show you just how much you reflect, how much reality you force people to face. Being the mirror is a quiet kind of dominance. It doesn't shout or scheme. It simply reflects, and in reflecting it becomes undeniable. The more they rage, the clearer the picture. The more they mimic, the more hollow they appear. The more they retreat, the louder their own confession sounds. Chosen ones, hold your posture. Keep showing up. Your calm is not weakness. It's the lens that sharpens the truth. They can smash 1,000 mirrors, but the reflection follows. So stand unbroken. Let them break themselves against the truth you mirror. In the end, it is their unraveling that proves your steadiness, and their noise that clears the space for what you quietly are. Real, unwavering, and impossible to erase. Number 8. Their lies turned inward, breaking their alliances before they could break you. Their web of lies ate their own camp alive. When you spin a web to trap someone else, don't be shocked when you're the fly. Chosen ones, listen close. This is where the enemy's plan collapses under its own weight. They thought they were weaving a story to trap you, to shape your image and steer the room. Instead, they stitched together a net that strangled their own alliances. Lies don't travel alone. They breed. One small falsehood invites another to keep it standing, and before long, you've got a culture of fabrication. Each person manufacturing a version of reality that best protects their pride. And that, chosen ones, is how a camp becomes a car crash in slow motion. Think about the mechanics. When a single narrative was whispered, it sounded plausible. When two people told the same lie, the lie gained momentum. But when 3, 4, 5 people each invented their own angle, suddenly the story no longer points in one direction. Someone paints you cold. Someone else calls you manipulative. Another says you're irrelevant. Someone else says you're a threat. Those versions don't line up. They clash. They cancel each other out. Pride keeps each storyteller defending their version, because backing down would mean admitting they invented something. And once ego enters the maintenance of a fiction, there's no stepping back without losing face. So instead of solidarity, you get competition. Instead of a united front, you get factions fighting over whose story is the headline. Ask yourself, who profits when allies turn on each other? Nobody. Their original target, you, becomes incidental. What unfolds is a war for credibility. Each liar becomes paranoid, scanning the room for the one who might expose them. Suspicion mutates into rivalry. Rivalry mutates into betrayal dressed as argument. They accuse each other of exaggerating, of distorting facts, of lying more convincingly. The loudest voices try to drown out the contradictions, but volume can't fix logic. The more they scramble to prop up their versions, the faster the structure collapses. Their net turns inward. The trap becomes a noose. This is where the irony cuts deepest. They set out to erase you and instead erased their trust. They believed masking their insecurity by inventing a villain would save them. Instead, the very stories they told to feel safer accelerated the unraveling of their own group. Shared secrets fracture into competing myths. Alliances that once appeared seamless reveal seams. Friends who stood shoulder to shoulder now posture and point fingers, all trying to claim they were the truest narrator. That's drama, sure, but it's also the clearest proof to outsiders of who was hiding what and how fragile their unity really was. And you, chosen ones, what does this mean for you? It means you are the axis that exposed their rot. Your existence forced them to invent a reality where they weren't threatened. That invention required cooperation, yet cooperation collapsed under the strain of individual ego and differing lies. You didn't destroy their camp, their dishonesty did. You simply stood at the center of the pressure that revealed it. That's not weakness, that's quiet power. When a group splinters trying to silence you, the splintering itself is evidence of your influence. Don't be tempted to gloat. This collapse is not your victory lap. It's a lesson. Watch how the fractures appear and learn who holds integrity and who holds performance. Pay attention to who rushes to repair their story and who chooses truth even when it hurts. Those who choose truth will become the allies worth keeping. Those who keep spinning will only keep setting themselves on fire. Remember this, lies are expensive to maintain. They need rehearsals, accomplices, and constant edits. Truth needs none of that. It shows up once and clears the room. In the chaos that follows, your role is simple. Remain steady. Let their infighting serve as the evidence. Let the fall of their camp be the sign to everyone watching that their version of reality was a fiction. You did not wage war on them. Their own dishonesty brought the house down. So keep your head. Name the truth when it matters, and fold away the noise when it doesn't. Their enemies within have already done the hard work for you. The battlefield they created to bury you became a theater that exposed them. Watch it burn, not in anger, but in the clarity it gives you. That clarity is your advantage. Number 9. It wasn't planned chaos. It was truth exploding through their denial. The fight wasn't scripted, it was the truth breaking loose. You can rehearse a lie 1,000 times, but the truth only needs one crack to escape. My dear chosen ones, let's make this crystal clear. The fight that broke out over you wasn't anyone's grand strategy. It wasn't plotted behind closed doors or orchestrated like a chess move. No, it was raw, it was messy, it was spontaneous, and that's exactly why it exposed so much. Because the truth they tried to bury about their feelings for you refused to stay silent. It slipped through the cracks of their fake stories and turned their carefully built lies into rubble. Chosen ones, lies are exhausting. Think about it. Every time someone lies, they have to remember the details, match the tone, keep the story consistent, and patch up every hole before someone notices. Lies aren't built to last. They're like cheap scaffolding, always needing repair. And the longer they try to hold it up, the heavier it becomes. That's what was happening here. Every time they swore you didn't matter, every time they pretended to be indifferent, it took energy. But energy runs out, fatigue creeps in, and when people are tired, their guard slips. That's when the truth breaks through, and break through it did. Maybe it was a compliment they didn't mean to say out loud. Maybe it was the defensive tone that gave away more than the words. Or maybe it was the way their laughter lingered a second too long when your name came up. Whatever the trigger, it was small, but small cracks destroy big dams. One unguarded slip set off the chain reaction. The mask slid, the lies clashed, and the fight erupted. Chosen ones, this is what you need to understand. The explosion wasn't about you walking into the room and demanding attention. It wasn't about you forcing anyone's hand. It was about their inability to hold their masks any longer. The weight of denial crushed them from within. That's why the fight carried so much intensity. It wasn't just about you. It was about them realizing their house of lies was collapsing in real time. And when one person's mask slipped, panic spread. Others who had been maintaining their own fictions scrambled to reinforce their stories, but in their rush, they contradicted each other.
It's called Hidden Kingdoms Truth. I've been rocking with them since the beginning of my journey, and it helped me so much, pinpointing some things like. So I was directed by Spirit to bring it to the chosen ones, let y'all hear it too, with me. So this is what, we in alignment, family. We in alignment. Let's go. We in alignment.
Inconsistencies exposed them. Their voices got louder, and the louder they grew, the clearer the truth became. That's the thing about suppression. It creates pressure. Pressure doesn't dissolve on its own. It builds. It grows heavier the longer it's ignored, and eventually it demands release.
Yes, it do.
Imagine shaking a soda bottle over and over, then pretending it will never fizz when opened. Impossible. That's what happened when they tried to suppress their envy, their admiration, their hidden attraction to you. The bottle burst, and the spray hit everyone in the room. And chosen ones don't miss this. The beauty of this moment is that it proves a law of human nature. Truth doesn't need permission. It doesn't need to be invited in. It shows up unannounced, kicking the door wide open when it's ready. No matter how carefully they rehearsed their stories, no matter how tightly they clung to their denials, the truth about how much you impacted them was always alive beneath the surface. It was restless. It was waiting for its moment. And when that moment came, nothing could hold it back. That's why this fight wasn't just noise, it was revelation. It revealed that their carefully polished masks were fragile. It revealed that their denials had a shelf life. And most importantly, it revealed that you, chosen one, are the kind of force that brings out truth, whether people want it exposed or not. You are the storm they can't predict, the weight they can't carry, the mirror they can't shatter. So let this sink in. The fight wasn't a sign of your weakness. It was a sign of their limits. They reached the edge of what they could fake, and the truth spilled out, wild and uncontrollable.
Yes,
and what truth was that? That you matter, that you carry weight, that your presence shakes people in ways they can't suppress forever. Lies can only last so long. But your reality, it stands unshaken. Chosen ones, remember this. Nothing shakes a lie harder than the weight of the truth it's trying to smother. And you, by simply existing, became that truth. That's why the fight wasn't planned. It was inevitable. And chosen ones, now you've seen it for what it really is. Their explosive fight wasn't about weakness in you. It was the truth inside them breaking loose. Every mask they wore shattered, every denial collapsed, and still you stood unshaken. That's the power of being chosen. You don't have to fight for proof. Their chaos becomes your evidence. If this message hit home, show your support. Smash that like button. Subscribe for more raw truth. Drop the number 77 in the comments and share this with other chosen ones who need to hear it.
I'm sharing it with all of them. Yeah, we doing that. We're gonna share. Oh, this is enlightening. Oh, golly, divine. Gratitude for the message for y'all allowing me into y'all energy. Kenneth, I see you. Love 6. There she go. Peace, guys. I see y'all up here. Hey, I am. How you vibing? I am. See y'all up in here. It's great to see y'all up in here, family. That's why this message is so powerful. 'Cause all these powerful beings up in here. These beautiful souls, the ones that didn't just was existing. We just being. And so much that came with this mission. Come to a planet that was so unhealed. This planet was, before we awakened, it was terrible. It was terrible, family. I'm grateful for us to be here to heal this planet. Like, seriously, family, because it needs it. It needs you. You are enough, Divine. We are enough. And we healing, rising together. That's what it is. You know, it's a great healing journey. You know, we just being us. That's who we are. Whether they like it or not, you know. Hey, we choose to rise. We choose to love ourselves. Choose to heal from everything we've been through. Because there's a lot that came with these chosen ones, man. We had to go through a lot, family. And I say that, you know, all the time when we on here. Because it's true. And we made it though. And created this. Created you. Look at you. Look at you. Look at you. Look at you now. You glowing. You know. You worth it. We worth it. Ain't gonna stop us. Look, confirmation. Ain't gonna stop us from rising, from loving ourselves. We're gonna keep going. Keep enjoying this greatness. Because that's what you are. You're great. You're amazing. Let nobody tell you nothing other than that, family. You are enough. And we're enough together, period. You're enough by yourself, powerful being. But with us together, well, to the top, family. To the top. Remember, this is February 17th, I believe. This is a very powerful day. New moon, Luna. We got the eclipse. It's just so much going on today. The year of the horse today. Yes. We shedded that skin. Yes. We shedded that skin. New beginnings. New moon, you know. Hey, don't forget to charge your crystals. Put your crystals out there. Charge them up. Got all mine now. Charging. I need a charger for real. All of them. Even the ones that's on the website. Hey, the ones I got that's available, they out there charging. So, hey, we in the right place, the right moment, the right now, chosen. Keep going. Keep loving yourself, Divine. I want to say gratitude for allowing me into your energy. We'll be back on here later with some more messages. So if you ain't follow me, follow me. This is what we do. We heal. This is healing for all of us. So gratitude, family. I want to hand your energy back and say gratitude for allowing me into your energy. It was greatly appreciated, love. Keep going. You got this. We'll close this out. Keep going, chosen. We got this. Love y'all, family. We connected as one wholeness, and there's no stopping us. We unbreakable, unstoppable, and you are enough. Period. Period. We ain't worried about what they say. We're worried about what we got going on. We in our energy now. And it feels so good. Period, Pooh. Nah, for real. Resilient, baby. That's what we are. Hey, yeah, you enough. You enough. Yeah, so we tapped in, family. I'll be